Hi, everybody. So, I am back from my little post-holiday break, and I hope whether you celebrate a turkey-based holiday or not, you had a good week. So, I wanted to pop in and make a little video talking about holiday gatherings, because they can be very stressful times for your dogs. I know it's too late to talk about the turkey-based holiday gathering, but you've got Hanukkah coming up, you've got Christmas, you've got various other winter seasonal holidays happening where people might be gathering. And like I said, large gatherings of people, especially people who your dog doesn't see on the regular, can be kind of stressful. Right? And that's why I wanted to pop in, because I get asked a lot about, how do I prep my dog for, a lot of people being there. And the best advice I can really give you is to make sure your house is properly prepped for it. Because just like people, dogs aren't necessarily going to love large groups of people, and just like you can't teach people to love large groups of people, it's really hard to teach dogs to love large groups of people. So you want to have your house prepped for starters. And the best thing you can do for your dog when it comes to holiday gatherings is give them a place where they can go to be out of the way. Whether it's a room to themselves, it probably should be a room to themselves, by the way. A room to themselves, the place where their crate is. But if their crate is, even if they like their crate, if their crate is somewhere where there's a lot of action in the house, you should move it to somewhere quiet and out of the way. Wherever you designate sort of as the dog's space, you got to make sure that your guests understand that no matter what, when the dog is in there, the dog is not to be disturbed. And this goes for adults and kids alike. If the dog is in that designated spot, nobody goes in there. Not to get a coat, not to go to the bathroom, nothing. And so you want to have it, in a place where, people aren't going to be using it a lot. So yeah, if the dog is there, people don't go there. And the idea here is that, just like people, dogs can get very overwhelmed in large groups. I know, my social battery runs down after spending a lot of time in a large group, and the same is true of dogs. Even the most social dogs, their social battery can run down. And by giving them a space where they can go, they're going to make a better decision, to take themselves out of that situation, as opposed to making a bad decision, kind of lashing out because they're overwhelmed or knocking stuff over or just kind of running around like crazy. If they have a place that they know they can go and not be disturbed, they're going to make the choice to go there rather than, to sort of do anything else. Because that's really all they want when their social battery runs down. So, tip number one, have a space where your dog can go and be completely and totally undisturbed. Again, nobody goes there. That said, when your dog is out and about among people, if they choose to be out and about among people, they should probably be dragging their leash. It just makes it easier if you need to move them around. Makes it so you don't have to grab the collar or anything like that. Get your hands in the way if they're trying to be nutty or if they're trying to jump. It also has the added benefit that when people come in and out, you can hold their leash and they. You don't have to worry about them bolting through the door. Yeah, let them drag their leash around. It's just going to be easier that way. And I mentioned bolting through a door. Regardless of how social your dog is, when people are arriving and when people are leaving your gathering, those are both times when your door is going to be open a lot. And I would recommend that during those times, your dog is just out of the way, in a room somewhere, because that way they can't bolt out the door. And if they're going to be out and about, while people are entering and leaving, while your front door is going to be open a lot, have their leash on and be holding it, okay? Make it so your dog can't bolt out. Because again, no matter how well-behaved your dog is and no matter how good your dog is at waiting at doors, if you leave that temptation there long enough, they will be tempted to bolt. So just, make sure it doesn't happen. All right, so preparing the house, having a space where the dog can be by themselves, all really good. Now we get into, some more safety type things. And the big safety item that I'm going to talk about right now is food. Because there's a lot of food, especially around holidays, that dogs can't have. whether it's sugary, chocolatey desserts, things with onions, grapes, raisins, garlic, all stuff dogs can't have. And so there's a lot of potential for your dog to get something that's gonna, not play nice with their internal systems. And so, first of all, you want to make sure that your guests know that under no circumstances should they feed your dog anything. And if they want to feed your dog something, they need to clear it with you first. They need to get, express permission from you first. But it's probably just going to be easier to make it a blanket rule that nobody feeds the dog. And this is another reason why having your dog on a leash when they're out and about is a good idea, because you can quickly move your dog away from tempting things that may wind up on the ground. And I know you may have people like babies, who are in high chairs and stuff, who can't avoid like dropping stuff on the ground, and that's going to be a temptation for your dog. If your dog is going to be near a baby, especially a baby who's got food, again, have your dog on a leash so they can't get to the stuff that the baby's dropping on the ground, because you never know, the baby might drop something that is dangerous to a dog on the ground. Okay, so keep the dogs away from the food, and the corollary of that is keep the food away from the dogs. And what I mean by that is don't put food on coffee tables. Okay, again, no matter how good your dog is about not taking things off tables, off whatever, if you have the temptation out long enough, your dog is going to be tempted to do it, and they're going to be more likely to make the bad decision. Okay, so don't have food on coffee tables, because the longer you leave food at a dog's head level, and that's what a coffee table is, it's at the head level of most dogs, the longer you leave that temptation out there, the more likely your dog is to try and grab it, and that's not gonna end well. And again, I don't care how good your dog is about waiting. You tempt them long enough, they're gonna make a bad decision. That's just how dogs are. So keep the food higher up, keep the food away from the dogs, and and again, make it very clear to your guests that they are not to feed your dog anything at all. Okay. The final thing I am going to talk about is something that I've talked about before, but always bears repeating. What I'm talking about is hiding your weed. Okay. Family gatherings, they're stressful. I get it. Okay. So you may be tempted to indulge in some weed, in some edibles, whether you smoke, whether you vape, whether you eat, whatever it is, you may be tempted, and I get it. By all means, do it, and and enjoy it. And if you want to do it with your guests, by all means, do it, enjoy it, and have fun. But remember that while dogs can have some products that have CBD in it, I give my dog CBD products for his arthritis pain. That said, what they cannot have is THC, and that's the psychoactive ingredient. So if you are indulging in anything that has THC in it, make sure your dog cannot get it. Marijuana toxicity is a very bad thing for dogs, so make sure they can't get to it. All right. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I've talked long enough. All right, but let's go back over everything. All right, first, prepare your house. All right, make sure that your dog has a space where they can be alone. When your dog is out and about, they should be dragging their leash, so you can quickly move them around. All right, food tips. Food shouldn't be on coffee tables. It should be above your dogs, if at all possible. Make sure your guests know that they cannot, under any circumstances, feed anything to your dogs. And if they are tempted to do it, they need to clear it with you first. But again, I would say just make it a blanket rule. When people are arriving and leaving, those are times when your dog is going to be tempted to go out that front door of yours. So probably best during those times to have your dog out of the way. It really would be the easiest thing, just to have your dog out of the way during those times when people are arriving and leaving, and your front door is going to be open a lot. And so you don't want your dog to be tempted to bolt out. So just have them out of the way. And again, if you can't put them out of the way, or you don't want to, you want them to say goodbye to people, fine. But again, they should be on their leashes when that is happening. Final thing, like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I will say it often and with much gusto: hide your weed. Okay, everybody, Have a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what you do or don't celebrate, and I will chat with you soon.